Bonjour, vous êtes les bienvenus dans la boîte à merveille. Je vous prie de vous abonner à cette chaîne et de cliquer sur la cloche pour recevoir les prochaines vidéos. J'ai reçu ce matin une vidéo qui présente le témoignage d'un soldat israélien affirmant qu'Israël a ordonné à ses soldats le 7 octobre à ne pas intervenir afin que Hamas puisse faire ce qu'elle a pu faire et ainsi pouvoir justifier l'extermination des gens de Gaza et sa destruction. Je vous invite donc à écouter cette vidéo. Elle est en anglais, mais je sais que vous savez, connaissez cette langue. Voilà, on va donc la.
Welcome, truth seekers and freedom lovers. This is Makia with the Freedom Articles. This is video number 237 on Thursday, July 31st, 2025. And the breaking news today is that there is an Israeli soldier who has testified to the Knesset, Israel's parliament, that he was given a very strange order on the morning of October 7th, specifically between 5:20 a.m. and 9 a.m. And these almost 4 hours was the period when Hamas was allowed to attack. And it was a stand-down order. It was an order not to continue the normal patrol of that area. So if you're not familiar with this by now, hopefully a couple of videos I've done in the past can bring you up to speed. I'm going to put all the show notes links below. Hamas attack on Israel was allowed to happen. Hamas versus Israel, fifth-generation warfare aimed at you. Israel-Hamas conflict. And how the MS and mainstream media used journalists already at the scene of the Hamas attack. So there was obviously foreknowledge of planning that went into this. Did a review of the Atrocity Inc. documentary that exposed the lies, the Hannibal Directive, and there was also AI video fakery with Matt Gordon. He was exposing that. So that's the background. But basically, this guy's testimony is in Hebrew, but we do have an English translation. I'm just going to play a little bit of this so you can see what he's actually saying here.
יושבים ליד הקשר כדי לא להעיר מאזין, והסמג"ד שלי, ניר בוינפלג, שגם הוא נפצע קשה, וברוך השם הוא שרד, פתאום עולה בקשר בהודעה מוזרה. כל התחנות, לא יודע למה, לא יודע איך, משהו בסגנון הזה, אין סיור בגדר עד 9 בבוקר. באישה זה? 5:20 בבוקר.
כל התחנות נשארים כאן משניהם, אז מבחינת קרקע ואויב אין לנו דברים משמעותיים. מבחינת כוחותינו יצאה הנחיה מהחטיבה שעד השעה 9 בבוקר מול הערכת המצב, אף כלי לא מגיע לבורמה. ואני חוזר שוב, עד 9 בבוקר ומול הערכת המצב, אף כלי לא לבורמה.
Okay, so his supervisor gets an order saying no patrols, no vehicles going down to Burma. And he thought it was a very strange message. He couldn't really understand it. He later on in his testimony said the soldiers are in an outpost there and they carry patrols out on the border every morning because, quote, you are in an operational battalion and that is part of the matter, meaning it's part of your duty. It's part of what needs to be done if you're doing proper defense. But this is all about, it's another one of these false flag operations where it's made to happen or allowed to happen. There's often a blurring of the lines between those two things. But the people high up knew this was happening, and so they have to remove the ordinary defensive procedures, the standard operating procedures that would have stopped something like this or would have made it not so bad. But they wanted it to be bad. They wanted a lot of people killed because it was the excuse they needed to launch the genocide of Gaza. There's an article on the Cradle that goes into more depth with this guy's testimony and the implications of it. His name is Shalom Shitrit. And I'm sure that he's not the only one that saw something weird and something off that didn't make sense about what happened that morning with all the Hamas fighters being allowed in so easily past one of the most technologically defended fences and gates of walls in the entire world. And the stand-down order for 6 to 7 hours where there was basically no Israeli military response to Hamas fighters just wandering around inside of Israeli territory. And then just as a reminder, we did have several admissions from people high up in Israel, in the Israeli military. We had this guy, Colonel Nof Erez, who said that there was the Hannibal Directive given, which means that the Israeli army is going to kill its own citizens to prevent them being taken captive or hostage. And the initial figure was 1,400. That got downgraded to 1,200 people that died that day. But we know that Israel was probably responsible for around 2/3 of it, if not more. And this was just basically an indiscriminate firing upon anyone there, whether they were civilian or military, Israeli or Palestinian. It didn't matter. They were just getting the body count up and killing them. And it actually leads on, this whole story about this testimony of this soldier leads on to another story that just came out. Well, sorry, this didn't just came out, but this just came to my attention. This is actually from 2023 in December. It says, recent investigation by Israeli Channel 12, featuring accounts from settlers, affirms that Israeli tanks were situated inside the Be'eri settlement on October 7th. The investigation reveals they targeted houses even when dozens of people were inside. So yeah, Hamas does not have an air force or tanks. So if there's tanks in this area, they have to belong to the Israeli military. There's no one else around that they would belong to. And so when the tanks are firing on people in here, that is the Israeli military firing on people there, its own citizens. Let's play a little bit of this video.
בפעם הראשונה מאז ה7 באוקטובר, אנחנו מקבלים הזדמנות נדירה לראות מלמעלה את הטרגדיה של קיבוץ בארי, כפי שהכוחות ותושבי הקיבוץ ראו אותה בזמן אמת. בשעה 4:20 אחר הצהריים, יותר מ9 שעות אחרי שחדרו לבארי מאות מחבלים. שכונות שלמות בקיבוץ עולות באש.
אני צופה עכשיו על בארי, על החלק הצפוני. אני רואה מוקד עשן בחלק הצפוני מערבי מול הבית עלמין. שם זה הקרקט.
So basically we're seeing damage that's inflicted by weapons that are not consistent with what Hamas can do, what Hamas is capable of, the weapons they own. Later on in this video, we actually hear some of the people that survived, even though their neighbors or their family members may have been injured or killed. And they're just complaining that the army is doing nothing in some cases, but the Israeli army was definitely present. So all of this was allowed to happen. We got out. I yelled at the soldiers, who will go back to Be'eri. So it's worth watching. This whole thing just stinks to high heaven. It is absolutely tragic, and not just for the Gazans are getting genocide. Of course, that's absolutely horrific, but the Israeli citizens are treated by their government in a similar way. I mean, they're basically just pawns that are used in these geopolitical struggles and battles. And if they need to wipe out 1,200 of their own citizens for some greater war goal or war purpose, they'll do that. So I'm going to leave it there. As always, don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Please leave your comments, and all links are placed in the show notes below every time. If you like this video and feel that I've earned it, please like, share, subscribe, and follow. My work is on Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, and thefreedomarticles.com.
Voilà donc ce qui cherchait une preuve que le 7 octobre était voulu par Israël afin de pouvoir justifier ses crimes contre les Palestiniens. Les Israéliens doivent exiger des autorités israéliennes d'expliquer ce qui s'est passé exactement le 7 octobre. Pour moi, c'est clair que le 7 octobre n'est qu'une mise en scène tragique dont le but est d'exterminer les Gazaouis et de détruire la ville et la région de la bande de Gaza. Ici se termine mon interview, cette interview qui était, ou cette vidéo que je vous ai montrée. Et je vous souhaite une belle journée. Au revoir.